The purpose of this experiment is to figure out what determines whether an object sinks or floats. We will prove that buoyant forces have something to do with it. Buoyant forces are upward forces that are a result of pressure increasing with depth. Over the course of this experiment, you will need the following:
a small corkscrew and a piece of metal around the same size, and be filling 2 glasses with water amounted to 1 3/4 cup of water. My prediction is that the corkscrew will float and the metal will sink, obviously, because, that's how it works.
Well, I'm not really sure how things work. So I'm gonna guess that the cork is gonna sink, and then the metal, it should float, maybe? I don't know. It's the purpose of the experiment, no? We'll see. And for the moment of truth. Now that we know whether or not the objects will sink or float, let's take a look at exactly why they did what they did. The metal cube sunk. It sunk because it was more dense than the water we put it in, therefore having stronger downward acting forces. When the downward acting forces are stronger than the forces pushing the object up, the object sinks. The piece of cork was the complete opposite. It floated. It floated because it was less dense than the water it was dropped in, therefore having stronger upward acting forces. When the upward acting forces on an object are stronger than the downward forces, the object floats.
The experiment proved that the buoyant forces acting up on the corkscrew were greater than the forces acting down on it, vice versa for the metal, whereas the forces acting down on it are greater than the buoyant forces acting up, as to its length.
Now that the experiment is done, we have answered our specific question of what makes an object sink or float, and we have explained how buoyant forces have something to do with it. In order to calculate the buoyant forces that acted on the two objects, you use the formula listed. All you have to do is multiply the density of the object by the volume, then by the gravitational constant, and you will get the buoyant force. Our work here is done.
I was right. Just let that be known. Good night.
That was the purpose of the experiment, to see what it was gonna do. The metal sunk. Come back in the camera.